because the receptors on the cancers of the killer cells could recognize that. So even in the presence of chemotherapy, you don't use chemotherapy to kill the tumor. You use a tiny dose of chemotherapy just to stress the patient, the cancer, and the cancer says, oh my God, something's coming at me, and it starts exposing itself. So you go from hide to expose. So you use the chemotherapy at a low dose called low metronomic dose to use it as what I call an immunomodulator. Importantly...
Wait, I was asking, you're describing cancer as almost like an autonomous entity that has a goal, a will to destroy the human body.
It does.
But that's, I mean, you're describing like a...
It's a machine.
But with intent and kind of clever behavior. It hides? Like what? You're describing like some foreign entity in the body that's trying to kill the body.
It is. It's like a virus.
But how can a tumor know to hide?
Because it has genomic sequencing in there that actually blocks the expression. So
it sounds diabolical.
It is diabolical. That's why I spent 50 years trying to understand. It's not a human brain. It's biology and how biology can mutate. And actually, your body is a beautiful thing. I mean, it's an exquisite thing. So it has to have this thing called epigenetics. So it has the genomic sequencing that says, I'm not going to express this. So we can now stress that and block the block, and it now expresses something on its surface that our T cells can recognize. So that's the first step.
Smoke it out.
Smoke it out. But your body has mechanisms to smoke it out. It gets even more complicated. Your body has a thing where you can induce what we call DAMPs, which is damage-associated molecular patterns, but forget that. It's a way of actually smoking it out, so now your T cells can recognize it. Okay, so now you've done step one. That's just step one. That's one molecule. So this is why I think the FDA needs to understand we're fighting a war where you need battlefield awareness all simultaneously, where you have to orchestrate your Marines, your Army, your Navy, your Air Force, all in the right place, so that you can use the tumor in your body to act as the weapon, as the vaccine. Because a tumor has molecules that is foreign to the rest of your body, and if you educate your T cells to recognize those molecules that is foreign to the rest of your body, that T cell can remember. Now you have a memory T cell. So for the first time in 2024, in our package insert, we have a molecule called the BioShield now, I'll call it the BioShield, that can activate the natural killer cell, activate the killer T cell, and drive memory T cells. We now have bladder cancer patients who would have lost their bladder in complete remission for 9 years and still alive.
And so the protocol is you administer low-dose chemo to identify where the tumor is.
You smoke it out.
You smoke it out.
But at the same time, you need to have the natural killer cells and T cells ready. So you give them the BioShield that upregulates and stimulates your natural killer cells and T cells.
What about radiation? Does that play a role?
That'll kill your natural killer cells and T cells.
So no.
Unless, and comes out unless, today the radiation is what they call 70 gigabits, huge doses. Unless you give a tiny little dose just to the tumor, nowhere else, to smoke it out. So you use radiation in a very different way called SBRT, a low dose.
To identify rather than destroy.
To expose rather than expose. So the algorithm is expose, from hide to expose. The next algorithm is activate and proliferate your NK cells.
And that's with the subcutaneous injection.
Correct. The next algorithm is to educate your T cells with a vaccine that you anticipate that's going to be exposed. So you now have educated T cells ready. So you've got educated T cells, you got NK cells. And the next thing is to activate your macrophages so they become killer macrophages. And the next step is to suppress the suppressors. You do that all simultaneously.
How much human suffering is involved in this? There's a lot in a conventional course of cancer therapy.
All as an outpatient. We've done hundreds of patients now.
So someone taking this course is he going to lose his hair or throw up all the time?
As an outpatient, no.